Hello everyone, welcome to From the Heart. I'm Joshua.
And I'm Mary.
And we're excited to bring to you all that's new and good when it comes to the arts in Central Florida.
Today we are talking with David Schillhammer, Executive Director of the Orlando Philharmonic Orchestra. We look forward to learning about David's passionate and creative journey up to now. Welcome, David.
Thank you. It's great to be on this show, and I applaud and support all that you do. So thank you very much.
Thank you, David. We applaud and support you as well. It's a pleasure to be able to talk to you. So tell us about David as a child. Where did you grow up, and how did you get into arts? You know, what was something that drove you?
Great. My second favorite topic. Yeah, to be able to talk about myself. I was born and raised in Burlington, Vermont. Just the absolute quintessential New England experience. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. All 4 seasons. It was an idyllic place to grow up. And after I had to abandon my dreams of going to the Olympics as a cross-country skier, which is really what I wanted to do, I fell into music and found that I had a little knack for it and pursued music throughout high school.
How did you fall into music? How did that happen?
It just, it's 4th grade recorder. Okay.
Wow, so those recorders do work.
Yes, it is a gateway to the rest of the music. Yes. When I was, this is so silly, but when I was asked to play the Christmas solo out in front of the recorder ensemble and played it, and I was out there, I knew that this was the thing for me. And so I just kept involved in music all the way through and became a pretty good bassoonist. And
why bassoon?
Why bassoon? Because there was no one playing the bassoon in the high school band, and so I was playing the flute, and the band director walked up to me and said, "Would you like to play the bassoon?" I said, "Sure, what is it?" And I just fell in love with the instrument in a way that I didn't fall in love with the flute, because it just its sound, its place in the orchestra and the band. So I pursued music, and I was so blessed and fortunate to be accepted to the Eastman School of Music in Rochester, New York, where I did receive a bassoon performance degree. But along the way, the journey along the way, is I was president of every student organization possible during that time. I was vice president of my freshman class, president of my sophomore class, and then president of the student body during my junior year. And that was the year I said, aha, this is my calling. You know, I might be a good bassoonist, but this is so much more interesting, and it really works both sides of my brain. And so as I was a junior in college, I decided I was going to become an orchestra manager. I didn't know what it meant, but I just knew that I loved calling meetings and had agendas and budgets and making events happen, and it was just, I felt like I was destined to be an orchestra manager.
So you never knew you had leadership skills until college?
No.
Did you have brothers and sisters?
I have an older sister. She's not been in a leadership position like that, and so right out of school, in fact, I started as production manager of the Rochester Philharmonic while I was still a senior, if you can believe that, getting through all my finals and my jury. And the day after graduation, I started my career. I only spent 1 year in Rochester, but 6 great years at the St. Paul Chamber Orchestra in the Twin Cities, 3 as operations and education, and 3 as general manager. And at age 27, I became executive director of the San Antonio Symphony. I was and may still be one of the youngest executive directors of a major orchestra. And I had found my calling. I had a pretty good rise very, very quickly. And I spent 6 years in San Antonio. And then I got called by the Orlando Philharmonic. And I thought there was something special and unique here, in particular about the shared governance with the musicians.
And when was this?
This was in 1999. So I had my first interview in 1999. They called me back right after the first of the year, and lo and behold, I was offered the job at the Orlando Philharmonic. And it might be an overstatement, but it kind of saved my life. I just felt at home here in Central Florida. I felt like I could make a difference, that I could help create an organization. We were very young at that time, 6 or 7 years old. It was almost a go, no-go situation. So we had to build really quickly, garner the support, make sure people believed in us for the long haul. And when we did, it just took off. And so I've been so proud to serve the Orlando Philharmonic and serve the Central Florida community for all these years. I've watched not only the Philharmonic grow, the entire cultural community grow, and of course, watching the city grow right before our very eyes.
How do you feel like you've made a difference, David? Because we know that you have great accomplishments that have happened with the orchestra. But tell our listeners just a couple of things that you personally have been able to
you can walk in the door and make a difference. You can engage people in conversation, tell the story of the Orlando Philharmonic. You can raise money. You can speak. You have access to politicians. I mean, never in San Antonio would I think I would know the mayor so well or things like that. There's an intimacy about Orlando, despite us being a large city and even a growing city. There's a certain amount of intimacy amongst the movers and shakers, and so you can just guide yourself around town and make the connections that need to be made. It's that kind of community that I really enjoy, to meet people and then go back and implement activities that I know will make a difference in people's lives.
So I'm just curious. Go ahead.
I want to ask about how you would describe your leadership style.
Collaborative. I think the reason that I was hired here at the Orlando Philharmonic is because I always did place musicians first. I was a musician myself, and musicians are the highest priority in the food chain, if you will, of the Orlando Philharmonic. They found in me somebody slightly untraditional who was happy to put musicians first, when a lot of the candidates were, you know, I'm the boss. So I really describe my role as getting the right people in the right place at the right time to make the right decisions for the right reasons. So that it's
Boy, that
all
was good. Can you say that?
it's all to make
Can you
sure
repeat that?
all of the pieces in the puzzle are flowing at the same time. And so it's not just me making decisions as executive director. No, that's exactly the opposite of what I do. I get involved, the board and the musicians, the
Very
volunteers, the staff.
musician-like of you, too,
Yeah,
in a way.
and we all work together to come to the right decision. So that's it.
I was going to say exactly what you were going to say, but you know, you went from couldn't even be a public speaker. You know, at 5 years old, you couldn't even raise your hand, to now being this incredible leader. Do you think you're born a leader, or can leadership be taught?
I think it can be taught. I may have had some innate leadership in me. I don't know. It didn't feel that way growing up, but you know, later in life, it just came to me. So I always considered myself the shy wallflower, you know, that couldn't talk to people, and boom, here I am, you know, all these years later. So.
I love it. What last thing would you like everyone to know about the Orlando Philharmonic, and why should someone who's never come see?
Again, I go back to the music and the musicians. It is live music performed by live musicians in unusual presentations. We're not a traditional orchestra. We do unusual works, unusual collaborations. You will experience something at the Orlando Philharmonic that you might not experience at a larger orchestra, a more traditional
If you've
orchestra.
never seen live musicians play, what can someone expect to experience?
Yeah, edge of your seat excitement. You know, it is happening right before you. And even I get on the edge of my seat when I'm like, because you know what's coming next, or at least I do know what's coming next. And are they going to make it through? Of course they do. They always do. But it's fun to watch them. I've had, you know, people who've never been say, I'd love to just watch the strings, and their bows are all going in the same direction. Something I take for granted, you know, I've seen every day of my life. But, you know, watching the musicians all play together, watching a conductor and the relationship between the conductor and the musicians soar. And then the greatest part is watching the audience at the end and watching what an experience they've had. So it's the live music experience.
Will you give us your website so that we can have
Sure,
our guests-
orlandophil.org.
One more time?
orlandophil.org, orlandophil.org, orlandophil. And we have a really great website, if I do say so myself, and you can navigate it easily and find out everything there is to know about the Orlando Philharmonic there.
Thank you so much for being
absolutely.
here.
Thank you.
This is
Thank you.
great. Thank you for the idea of having David with us. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. We've been talking with David Schillhammer, Executive Director of the Orlando Philharmonic Orchestra. When we return, we'll learn about David's vision of the future for both himself and the Orlando Philharmonic on From the Heart.